Hi, it's Singing Steve. I wanted to remember my father by telling you this story about one of the lessons that he taught me. As many of you know, my parents met in a concentration camp. They were from Poland. My brother was born in Germany right after the liberation, and my brother became a rabbi later in his life. And my parents struggled as immigrants in the United States. They were supported by a rabbi who sponsored them, and they didn't go to New York like a lot of immigrants. They went straight to St. Louis, Missouri, where I was born 6 years later. What was it? 5 years? 3 years later. Okay. Anyway, the point is, my father learned a trade. He was a cutter for the ladies' garment workers union. They stacked up lots of material, and then he cut them with a pattern and made sure that there was as little waste as possible. And there was a manager there who took a liking to him. Both my parents had a very likable personality, and he taught him English. So later on, through different types of struggles, my father wound up in the liquor store business, and then the last liquor store that they owned was owned together with my father and my mother. Others he had partners with. So when I became 20 years old and I was going to music school in Philadelphia, I would go and fly back to California for the summer to help my parents with their liquor store, because they were really hard workers, 7 days a week, only the two of them and an occasional box boy, and they felt that they couldn't trust somebody at the cash register. So the first summer that I went there and went to help, I didn't know anything about liquor. Even today, I know very little about it. But my father taught me about marketing and sales. A customer came up to me and asked me, what's a good vodka? And I'm not a drinker. I'm not even a drinker today, so you wouldn't even know. And so I just kind of pointed to the shelf, and I guess he bought something. But then I asked my father later, what do I say? Okay, the liquor store was called Rainbow Liquor in Reseda, California. And he had a salesperson who sold him liquor with a private label, just like private label rights for information products, PDFs, and software that you can get today. And it had the Rainbow Liquor name on it: Rainbow Liquor Vodka, Rainbow Liquor Scotch, etc. So my father said to me, look, if they ask you this again, don't lie. Tell them you're really not a drinker, but you've heard that customers say that, here's the variety. You have Kamchatka vodka, Smirnoff vodka, and we have our own brand, Rainbow Liquor Vodka. And our customers tell us that when you mix the vodka, the Rainbow Liquor Vodka, with orange juice to make a highball, I guess that's what it's called, you can't tell the difference. It tastes just like Kamchatka. So I listened to my father, and at this point, I had had a little bit of acting training. I had many more years of acting training after that, and I'd gotten to the Screen Actors Guild and the Guild for doing musicals on the stage and so forth. Anyway, so a customer came up to me a couple days later and asked practically the same question dealing with whiskey. Now, I didn't know that there's obviously mixed drinks with all kinds of things. I didn't know what to call it. So I went through exactly what my father said. And he bought the Rainbow Liquor whiskey. I said, when you mix it with other things, it tastes like, I don't know, another popular whiskey that was on the shelf. And I told my father, it's amazing, it worked. And he looked at me and he was very serious. He said, yeah, we make more money on the private label liquor. Push it. I'm like, okay. So later on in life, I wound up owning a mortgage company. I had salespeople that I had to train. And we went through a training process. What was it? I can't remember the name of the author, but he wrote a series of books, and we had tapes, How to Sell Anybody Anything. And it's really the word that you use, whether you speak it or you write it, And those rules that influence people to go from being a suspect to a prospect to a customer, they are universal rules that apply everywhere. There's nothing special about it, but you have to learn the rules. So I recommend highly that you learn that you read the works of Robert Cialdini, Cialdini. He is a world-renowned expert on how to influence people and make sales. His books have to do with the words influence, and he's got several different rules. Well, I was very privileged to have been in the room where Robert Cialdini was the speaker. There were about 1,200 people in the room at a internet marketing event here in Las Vegas 3 or 4 years ago. And he told a story. He told several stories. Here's one, okay? He said, look, in today's environment, when things are so suspect, you have to use the word but to turn things around, okay? And he said the best thing to do would be to start with a negative statement, then use the word but, and then say something positive that will get people interested. Now, I later on met and had as a coach Mark Ling from New Zealand, and he told me, yes, but is like an eraser in a word. People forget about what you said before. So here's the example that Robert Cialdini gave us. The CEO of Ford Motor Company had the annual meeting of stockholders, and he says to them, on the very first words he says, something like, we're turning things around, but we have a long way to go. Now, that's the wrong example. And how would it sound if he turned it around the other way and would say, we have a long way to go, but we're turning things around? Now, doesn't that make you forget about what the first thing he said is? We're turning things around. Now it's piqued your interest. Look, what my father taught me is that there are certain words and phrases that are known to work in marketing and sales. And I suggest that you start researching those so you can use them in your headlines, you can use them in your outgoing emails, you can use them in your tweets, in your Facebook posts, right? Posts on your blog. It's very important to learn these. I haven't learned all of these yet, but I suggest that you do. And on this Father's Day, I want to thank my daddy for teaching me this and giving me the support to learn it even better later in life.